Greetings, Internet, and welcome to another episode of My Cool Friends. We go live every Friday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If this is your first time joining us today, first of all, hello, welcome. It's fantastic to have you here. We have all of our past episodes over on the YouTube channel, and we're also on the Facebook and the Twitter. First of all, I would like to give a very, very special guest welcome. Our guest this week, she is a master of building custom houses and also selling these custom houses. How she does this, well, I don't know, and we're about to find out on today's episode of My Cool Friends. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome, with homemade sound effects, Miss Ange Scott!
Well, thank you, my cool friend Ben. That was a great introduction.
Thank you. I'm so happy to have you here.
And I'm pleased to be here.
And as we said, it's morning for your time, and it's becoming evening for me. So I hope your day is starting off fantastic.
Yes, so I'm in sunny, not so sunny Australia today. It's very rainy outside, so it's a bit cold and wintry.
As we said in our introduction, you help people build custom houses and also sell those custom houses. And what I've gotten to learn about this process from meeting you through masterminds and also like planning out our interview today. But I have to say, as like the clueless millennial that I am, I have absolutely no idea what goes into purchasing one, let alone building one that is completely custom. So I have to ask you, how do you even begin building a custom house and then proceed to take that one step further and sell that custom house?
So I guess people come to us, they've usually bought a block of land, and people that usually want a custom home have bought, a block of land that's probably their dream block of land. It might have ocean views. It might have, like I live here and I got a lake out on my back doorstep here. Sloping blocks, like we get a lot of people that live on, they've got a really steep block. So they can't just pick a standard plan, or they don't want to pick a standard plan because they've got a better aspect that a lot of the standard plans don't pick up. So
sloping like it might be on the edge of a hill or something?
Yeah, so say in the Hollywood Hills would be an example for you guys over there. Those blocks of land are very difficult to build on. So they typically would have a custom builder come and build those homes because they're better qualified to build houses on those types of blocks because there's more engineering detail and there's, it's obviously structurally got to not slip down that hill. So there's a lot more detail that needs to go into those types of homes that are being built. So, they want to pick a builder that's I guess used to building those types of homes, and they know that they've got the expertise to do that. One we just built recently is like you stand on the street front and you literally it doesn't even look like there's a block of land there because it goes pretty much straight down. So even I stood at the top and went, how does that work? Because it just looks like, it doesn't look like land. It looks like you can't even fit something on there. But we fitted a 400 square meter house. I don't know how big that would be in your metric system, but that's quite large for a typical house in Australia would be maybe 200 square meters. So it's probably double the size of a standard house. But yeah, we custom design in-house as well. So I actually draw their house plans for them. So it's a lot more personal interaction with the client than, me. Typically you might talk to the builder tries to relay your ideas to a third party, which sometimes often gets translated completely differently from what the client imagined in the first place. So it sort of gets like Chinese whispers.
Yeah.
It goes along the chain, and by the time it comes out at the end, it's not what they actually, wanted to get. So we custom draw them in-house so that our clients end up with, exactly what they want and what they were imagining in their house and imagining in their heads as well.
I have two thoughts that have come to mind as you've been introducing all of this. I'll start with the simple one. As you're describing all of this, the thing that comes to mind, have you ever seen this show called Extreme Treehouses?
Not that exact one, but I have seen other ones.
Okay, yeah.
I need similar programs. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a show over here in the States. So if I can find some sort of clip online or an episode, I need to send it over to you. Because he's a dude who would just go all around the United States and would build these really lavish tree houses for people, and they would all basically be tiny homes. And the way that this would start off is that he would go and scout on people's property, and they would try to find.
Oh, they put them up in the tree, don't they?
Yeah,
and
they actually
have
they actually put them up in the tree, and then they gotta this is they gotta find a good spot for it first, and then they do everything basically everything that you just described, where they have to draw out all the plans. They gotta make sure that all the measurements are correct, and then they gotta make sure that what the person is picturing inside of their mind properly comes to life.
Yeah, and that's the hardest thing, because I don't know in your head what you're thinking. I'm trying to imagine, and so we have to have systems and processes in our business. And I have a coaching business as well, where I sort of teach this to other builders, to try and extract the right information from their clients, because people have a tendency to, you present them with a plan. So we do 3D so they can see inside the house, they can see all around the house. Wow. But if there's one thing that isn't right, they get stuck on it. And they're like, but that's not, I didn't want that bit. And you're like, look, this is the first process,
Mm-hmm.
This is where we start, and then we tweak it, to what you want. And sometimes it could be because you can't build it that way, or it won't work on their block of land, or you haven't thought about, I've had people try and put their bathroom, at their view. So I've moved it and put a room there so that they can get the view out of their room, but they get stuck on this. But I wanted my bathroom here. And you're like, yeah, but maybe you need to ask a different question. Why have you moved the bathroom? Instead of just taking that thing and going, well, I'm not happy with it, I'm going to go to and a lot of them do. They'll go to the next builder, because
and then they'll tell them the same thing.
Yeah, because they think you haven't listened to them, so they'll go to the next builder who will do that because they don't think about it. Whereas I say to them, think of a better question to ask me, or ask why have I moved that. And then when you say, well, your ocean view's here, this is why you bought this block of land, and you're going to put your toilet there. Oh, yeah. So it's a matter of asking the expert, why have they, changed that thing? Because it's usually to give them a better house design than what they had pictured when they maybe did a rough drawing. Because people don't think outside of when they draw a plan on a piece of paper. They don't think of the 3D aspect of it. They just have a piece of paper and go, well, I want my bedroom here, and I want this here, and I want this here, and I want that there. But they don't actually then look outside and go, well, hang on a minute, that's all my view there, and I'm putting all the bedrooms and not the main living areas. So they've sort of got to ask that better question.
Yeah, the first thing that I think of when we're talking about all this is that I picture, you've obviously seen all the Marvel movies, right?
Some, not all.
You don't need to see all of them. You just that's not the quiz for this question. The main thing that I think of is Tony Stark's house.
Yep.
In the MCU is that he's got this big circular lavish house, and it's on an ocean view. And the first thing that I always thought of when I see these houses is that, how do people deal with the like erosion that comes from the from ocean view property? Like, is that a challenge that you guys tackle, and like are there similar challenges that you guys have to think of with like different types of nature and elements?
Yeah, there is not so much in Australia. They have the building code and the regulations don't allow us to build right on the ocean like you guys seem to have. Like, you know, I see in the movies where their house is literally on a cliff and the water's just below. We have a buffer zone, so maybe over 100 years it might get closer and closer, but we never have to really worry about that. That one I spoke to at the beginning that was like on this cliff, yes, we had to think about, you know, what foundations do we have to allow that if, you know, it rains a lot, that it doesn't actually cause it to slip down like a landslide type thing. When we built that house, there was a house below the house we were building, and we're like, what if a rock rolls down the hill and lands on the house below? So we had to protect that house. And when my husband started building, he come home and he said, I'd thought about rocks and stuff rolling down the hill, but he goes, I didn't think about the actual digger machine. So the guy, because it was so steep, in his digging machine actually started to slip down the hill. And luckily enough, he was a good enough operator that he dug his bucket in and managed to stop himself and get himself on a more stable ground. But he goes, I didn't think about an excavator landing on the house below. So yeah, there is things that you've got to, you know, and that's why you want to get an expert builder when you have got these difficult terrain that you're working on, you know, someone that has got a track record, because there is a lot of thought that needs to go into that process. That house was, like you're saying, was a tree house. They had, the house design was like a tree house. They had the big tree poles going up through the house, and the logistics of actually trying to put them in the ground was like a lot of thought to try and get them in, because they had to be the first thing that go in, but they're like 12 meters high. Like, how are you actually going to support that while you then build the house around it?
Wow. And so you mentioned there briefly that you do this with your husband as well. And so how did you discover this? Like you almost like discovered your own little niche here of like, you noticed that like, oh, hey, like people need help with both building houses and also having assistance with the right knowledge and tools and business aspects of it. Is that correct?
Yeah. So, I mean, just from our own, I guess, trial and error and frustrations and I mean, a lot of people just think builders have got it easy. They just think I'm sitting back in my office with my feet up on the chair drinking coffee. But I mean, it's totally that. And the building industry has one of the highest suicide rates, because it is.
Wow, really?
It is quite. There's a lot of pressure on the builder from all different angles. You know, the homeowner. We've got a lot of regulation, obviously, the same as you guys have. You've got to build to a code, and you've got the, you know, council inspectors that come around and check that the work you're doing is as per the code. So there's a lot of involvement in it that a lot of people don't see. And that's what I'm trying to educate people on is, you know, the clients as well. You know, there's two different sides to the story. It's not just about the client. Yes, everyone says the client should be right, but there's a lot that could go wrong if they don't see it from both sides and go, yeah, right. Okay, that might not work. Although I want that, logistically that won't happen that way, or you can't afford to do that way. Here's an alternative to get the same result from what they're, I guess, imagining. So
right.
That's where a lot of the conflict comes from in the building industry, is between the client having one, you know, they think that it has to be done this way. Like you know, we get so many clients, you know, ringing up constantly, oh, this isn't done the right way, or I would have done it differently, or, you know, but they don't actually know the context of how that. And we just say, is it finished? No. Mm-hmm. Okay, so how about you let us finish it? If it's still wrong then, well, we'll fix it. But
right.
You're not the expert, we're the expert. Let us do our job and then question it once the job's finished if you think it's not right.
It rings very true to that example that you gave of putting the toilet near the ocean.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of danger that's involved in making logistical decisions that other people might not be aware of.
Yeah. And it's just because the client is emotionally attached to, you know, they might have saved for, like you said, you're a millennium, you know, you haven't probably thought about building a house because you probably can't afford to yet.
Right.
You know, so by the time you can afford to do that, you know, there's a lot of emotion attached to someone building their dream home. So
right.
there's a lot of balancing to try and keep the practicality of it and their emotion intact to make the project successful and come out how they want it to at the end.
Right. And how do you, so I think this is a fantastic topic and a fantastic question. How do you, like, you've got these two mediums, and I think that a lot of businesses like struggle with this in their own way. Is that you have this is the product that's actually going to benefit you and going to like help you get to like where you need to go. But then like you have the client over here that's asking for something that otherwise like isn't going to help them. Like they're asking for like the thing that's going to obstruct their ocean view, or like the thing that like might send their home into the ocean. How do you properly balance these like two yin and yang forces?
So it's got to be very tactful. And sometimes the builder, being my husband, is not quite so tactful. From my point of view, say people come in.
What do you mean by tactful?
Like
strategic?
Yeah, like not just tell it how it is. You might have to weave it in a story, or to try and change someone's mind from this thing to that thing without you know, upsetting them, basically. So
right.
You know, if you get one example, I had a client who it was a really bright blue, aqua blue color, and they wanted to paint 3 sides of their house this aqua blue color, and it was 2 stories high, and it was really bright color. And I was like, this is going to look terrible. It would be like painting the house the color of my hair. And then she wanted gray on the back bit. And I'm like, how do I explain to her? And it didn't matter how I kept trying to hint. Do you want to maybe just make that a feature color? Like, she was insistent she wanted this color. And in the end, I had to take her outside and find a 2-story house and a wall. And I said, can you imagine this color on that wall? And she went, no, that's ridiculous. And it's that, because they look at that floor plan and a little, you know, elevation of the side of the house, they are imagining it's this big. They're not getting the scope of how big that thing is. And you know, people want a big house, and we try to tell, you know, they're insistent they want to make it bigger, which they can't afford. And you're going, it's big, like the house is big. And we often get clients come out to the house and stand there when it's, you know, the frame's up and go, it's massive. And we're like, I know, we've been telling you that the whole time. Like, you didn't need to spend this much money. Like, sometimes you actually can't even furnish the house because it's too big, and you end up with these dead spaces that don't make the house feel as homely or calming, or what, like if you understand what I mean. Like,
I do understand what you mean, because like a lot of times, like when I've been like looking for places, it's like you don't want something that's too big, because you need to remember that like you need to clean all of that space.
Yeah.
And like one of my cousins, like he just purchased a new home, and he keeps a couple of the rooms shut so that they're not air conditioned. And so he doesn't run up the bill, because it's just him and his fiance.
Yeah. And you would probably know this yourself, being in what you do with your business, with the video and all that type of thing.
Mhm.
You know, there's an optimum distance that you'd probably have your lounge away from your TV, you know, say in your media room. You know, people are like, I want this massive media room. And I'm like, yeah, but your screen's like, and we've been to houses where the kids have picked up the beanbags and gone and sat, you know, closer to the screen because they're too far away. So it's just trying to subtly talk to these people and go, look, I know you want big, but it doesn't necessarily achieve what you probably are thinking it's going to achieve by making it that big.
I think that it's also like, speaking now, because you brought up the nerd media thing. It's also a like distinct purpose in mind. Because like, do you want a man cave? Do you want a home theater that you want to invite a whole bunch of friends into? Do you want to have a spacious area where you're playing like VR video games? All of those have I can tell you all of those are different lengths from the TV.
And they're all got different purposes. So
those all have different purposes.
And a lot of people don't, I guess, do their research on the purpose of what they're going to use that room for and what is the best optimum distance to be away from the TV screen, or to have the sound system work effectively. You know, if the room's too big, it echoes. It's not, you know, there is a lot to think about that.
I think it also plays in the fact of like, you know, sometimes it's not about purpose. Sometimes like everyone just wants something that's bigger than their neighbors.
Yeah. And it's right. Like I had one client, he's like, but I want people to walk in the front door and go, wow, I'm not sure if my house is going to do that. And I said, your house, it will, like, because he walked inside my house and went, wow. And I'm like, he goes, that's what I want from my house. And I said, your house will have that. And once the house was built and he had people coming over, he was like, everyone says, wow, when they walk in my front door. And I said, I know, I told you that's the case. But, you know, to them, they're investing so much money, you know, it could be $500,000. You know, they want to make sure that they're going to achieve what they're envisioning in their head.
Right. And so with all this, like this building extreme houses, this delicate balance of trying to achieve this goal, perfect segue. Aha, my segues make sense. I also understand that you are also moving over into media and you are in the process of starting your own show. Is that correct?
So I have two shows. So I have one show that is called About to Build. So that is for, like I'm talking about, people that have decided they're going to build a house, but they don't really know what to do. Like you, what do I do? What's the first thing that I need to do? What's the first process? Who do I talk to? So this show, I do a show each week and talk about, you know, how you do your research on your builders, what to look out for. You know, when you are designing your house, at the moment I'm doing a sort of short series where I go room by room and say, these are the things to consider that people often don't consider when they're designing. They just sort of pick up a plan and try and put boxes together, but they don't really have. And a lot of it is because it might be the way their old house was. You know, we often have clients where I'll design their kitchen differently because the modern day kitchen is different from their kitchen 20 years ago. How we use our house is different, you know. And then they're like, no, it needs to be the U-shaped one. And I'm like, yeah, but, you know, your deck's out here and you're going to be barbecuing and you want to go in and out, make this like look like one big in and outdoor area. No. And then they go and look at other houses and they come back and go, oh, I've changed my mind. I want it how you designed it because I've seen it now. But because a lot of people get stuck in that. But in my old house, I had it this way, which is not necessarily suited to the current way families live compared to years ago when we had formal dining rooms and we had formal kitchens. Now that we're all busier,
that's interesting.
People don't, like my kids sit in the lounge room here right where I'm, you know, making dinner because we don't have time to all stop and sit down and have a formal meal So it's just as people are coming in and out, so that the home designs have changed and people aren't necessarily aware of that.
Yeah. A lot of times, like when we have gatherings, it's not going to be like at a sit down place. It'll be like you described, like around a pool or something, and someone will be grilling, and there might be like a you would call it like an island in the kitchen where there might be food, but there's not going to be like a long table where everyone sits down.
So you just want that flow in between, out in the barbecue pool area into the kitchen area so that everyone can interact, rather than the old days you'd have a kitchen that was probably up the back and I'd be stuck there cooking and everyone else is out there having fun, like it's more bringing the nucleus of the family, and the center of your home is more now about bringing people together rather than putting you in formal little boxes as such. So, yeah.
And these shows that you do, like, do they come in video form? Are they just simply in podcast form that I can download on my phone?
So they're in, I live stream into Facebook, just like you're doing now.
You don't say.
So use the same technology you do and live stream it into Facebook. And I haven't turned them into podcasts yet, but they will go into podcast form. And the other one that I do, the other second show is it's called Builders Talk, and it's about educating builders on how to make their business better and give the clients a better experience than builders just want to build houses. They don't know how to run a business. Like they go to school, they learn how to build a house, they start their own business, they start building houses and then go, oh my God, look at all this stuff I have to do. And then they spend hours after work trying to, order things and pay bills, and, they don't get taught that at school.
Right.
Or at even like building school, say. So that's the other thing I'm trying to do, is educate the builders and help them set up their businesses so that everyone has a more enjoyable process. Because a lot of the time the builders get in trouble or their business goes bad because they don't know how to manage the clients, and they don't know how to manage the paperwork.
They don't have the proper knowledge.
Hey?
They don't have the proper knowledge that you do.
No, and there's a lot of assumptions made. You might think I'm getting a gold-plated toilet, but I've only priced you in a plastic toilet. But the paperwork might just say a toilet. So the client doesn't know what they're getting. So a lot of the conflict and this whole dodgy builder thing comes from the builders not providing enough detail and enough information to the client. And the client in their head has a picture of what they think they're getting, and the builder has a different picture. So it's trying to put the two together.
I love that you're doing this. And
very exciting.
It resonates with me because like it sounds so similar to like when I was learning about video editing and when I was learning about film, because I have so many friends that I can point at that can say like, wow, that guy really is talented and really makes some amazing stuff.
Yeah.
But so many times it boils down to what you're talking about, is because that selling and that communication is an actual talent. That's
how you make your money.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how you make money. If you can't successfully manage that client aspect and the client expectations, you might do well for a bit, but soon your reputation will be, that guy's a bit dodgy, or that guy,
that shady person who built my house.
He does, but they might go, yeah, that guy's good at what he does, but the conflict caused by the processes that you maybe don't explain well enough to the client, or have a contract in place, or that, that's where.
Or just simply knowing how to write up contracts.
Yeah. So you just can't leave assumptions, because assumptions cause conflict, basically.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of, my segues make sense. Speaking of selling and knowing how to make money, I understand that you received a very special package in the mail from a very special address. Is that correct?
Would you be talking about this one?
Insert drum roll sound effect. Yes, I would. For any audio listeners, Ange is showing us a unopened package of a ClickFunnels 2 Comma Club award. She is breaking the seal, and we are slowly seeing the opening of the box right now, ladies and gentlemen.
So I've had this box sitting in my bar since this time last year. And in Australia, no one understands what this award is. So I'd just been putting it off opening it because I felt like there was no one I could excitingly open it with.
Well, we are here for you today.
So I thought, what better time than to open it
than with your cool
friends. So
we have a bunch of foam inside. We have the traditional beans that are included with your packaging. And it is wrapped in the traditional bubble wrap, and we see the record, and oh my god, it looks glorious.
So this, to me, talking about selling, obviously the lifeline of your business is making money and selling your product. Mm-hmm. And people, this award, basically, for anyone that doesn't know, is for selling $1 million worth of product through ClickFunnels software. So it says
and there's her name.
2019. So I did accept this award at the ClickFunnels in just before COVID, February 2020.
The pre-COVID one.
Yeah. And I guess people sort of in that community say, well, that's not fair, Ange. You can just sell one house and you can get an award, which, yes, could be right.
As we've covered here very thoroughly on this episode, there's a lot of freaking work that goes into selling one house.
Yeah, so I guess I'll give you some context. One client we were working with on their custom house, quite a big house, and from when they walked in my office to when they actually signed the building contract, now all this time prior to that signing of that building contract is unpaid. It took 2 years to get that client to a point where they were happy with their plan, they were happy with the price, and they were happy to build with us. But in that time, they're talking to other builders as well and going through the same process with someone else. So there's a lot of, people think, yeah, you just sell one house, but it literally can take me 2 years before I can make that money. So right. People don't sort of see that side of it. And that client, they were just about to sign their contract when COVID hit. And, Australia got shut down. We had to work from home. And they said, can we have a video call with you? And I was like, either this is going to go one way or the other. We're going to not build or they're going to keep building. And it took all of my might on that video call not to cry, because they turned around and said, we're going to stop the process. And, I was like, oh my God, 2 years of, just back and forth. I think we went through nearly 26 versions of their plan till they finally were happy with the plan. And we're still building the house now. So it's even the building process we started building probably September last year. So nearly a year's process of then actually the building. So yeah, it's not just, yes, you sell one house and that's it. There's a massive process and a massive time frame of actually being able to even get that, because the money doesn't come in till they sign the contract, but then it comes in progress payments. So, I still haven't got all that money yet because I haven't finished building. So it's a very long turnaround time to actually make, and then obviously I don't profit $1 million.
Right.
That's turning over $1 million.
That's something that not everyone realizes, is that it doesn't mean $1 million profit. It's $1 million gross.
And a lot of people think, and that's why they have this impression of, oh, builders are rich because they're building $1 million house, but all the materials and all the labor come out of that $1 million.
Right.
So I'm just a project manager of the process. So what I actually get out of what's left over of that, sometimes we don't actually even make money. If we haven't priced it properly, we can't go back to the client because it's a fixed price contract and say, hey, look, it didn't work out. And this house, because of COVID, we've struggled to get materials. The jobs, we had 4 months between payments because we couldn't progress the job. So all those things potentially cost me money and can leave you with no profit. So that's what that represents to me, is the actual hard work that goes behind the scenes that most people don't know about, and that's what my shows are about, is educating the client on, what does happen behind the scenes, and educating the builders on setting up their businesses so that the clients do have a better experience and build the whole industry up to be better for everyone, really.
I love how heart-centered you are in all of this. And so many times, like, it's easy. It's a phrase that I like to say is, it's easy to be the referee after the play's been called. Yeah. It's easy for anyone to sit on the sidelines and say, like, all you need to do is sell one. Yeah. You need to do is sell one house. But no one realizes, like, what's underneath the iceberg.
No, not at all. And numerous times we've nearly gone bankrupt. People don't see that side of it. And because it is that long process for the money to be coming in, it gets stripped in over the time. Sometimes you can go with, literally no money left in the bank. You're like, you really need to get to that next stage to get money, or we can't pay the employees next month. Right. So that, people don't understand that side of that process.
Right. It's inspiring what you've shared when you say what that award means to you.
Yeah.
And so I must ask you, where can people find these shows of yours?
So if you just go to my Facebook page, one's About to Build. So just as it's spelled, About to Build. And the other one is Builders Talk, but talk is spelled TORQUE, like as in power. So they're the two Facebook pages. And my building company is Bungalow Homes, which is the page that would have the pictures of our beautiful homes that we build. So we've won a lot of awards for our homes. I think we've more than 30 now. So Cassie, she's always saying, Anne, stop being so humble and stop, hiding these facts from people. You need to tell people.
I do know Cassie. I know Cassie very well. And when I tell you before we go live on the show, like, hey, Ange, please give me your link so I can pimp you out, that is also Cassie talking.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm probably should be a bit more out there. I mean, I'm out there. My hair's out there anyway.
As out just there as your hair is, yes.
Matching doll.
You can be on the other side of the world and I will still signal a fellow nerd.
So I mean, it's a very rewarding process, but sometimes a very, very stressful process as well.
It's so. I think that's a message that we all can relate to. Is that we all want to get to that point, and it's so easy, like building a house. Like we want to like up the ante so many times.
Yeah,
but no one knows what's at the bottom of the iceberg, and so. And thank you so much for joining us. Is there where can people find you on social media? Are you on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, any of those places?
I'm on all them. So Facebook is just Ange Scott. My coaching business is called Designer Builder. So it's spelt design, but with her on the end and builder. So that's the I guess link where I have, and it'll have my shows on there about the stuff that I talk to builders about, improving their business and the programs that I'll be having for builders. Just nearly launching one now, which helps builders, nail down the processes in their business.
Awesome. You can find all of Ange's links down in the appropriate comment section, whether you are listening to us on audio or on video. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, we will be back next week for another episode of My Cool Friends. Until then, ladies and gentlemen, I am Ben Ebig with a Pikachu in hand, and this is our very special guest, Ange Scott, with a Funko Pop in hand.
Oh, hang on.
And as always, ladies and gentlemen, remember to stay safe and stay healthy. Goodbye, everybody.
Thank you.